built around the mystery first hook, refusal arc, financial reversal, child catalyst, costly setback, quiet vindication, and dignity-focused ending in your uploaded framework. At 6:43 on a freezing Monday morning, Samuel Calder knocked on the front door of a billionaire's mansion and heard glass breaking somewhere inside. He knocked again. No answer. The estate stood above the Rhode Island coast like something carved out of the storm itself. Gray stone, black windows, salt blowing across the empty driveway. The gates had been left open because the security company had canceled service at midnight. 36 hours earlier, Lenora Cade had owned the mansion, a private jet, 2 foundations, and 51% of one of the most valuable housing technology companies in America. Now her bank accounts were frozen. Her board had removed her. Her employees had been told not to contact her, and the company she had built with her dead brother was being prepared for sale. Sam had been sent to disconnect the mansion's automated systems before the creditors took possession. He carried a toolbox in one hand and a legal order in the other. The order authorized him to disable the elevators, remove the environmental controls, shut down the adaptive doors, and collect every piece of technology registered to Lenora's former company. What the order did not mention was that Lenora used those systems to move through the house. Sam knocked a third time. A woman's voice came through the door. "If you are from the bank, leave the papers outside." "I'm not from the bank. You are holding their order. I'm the contractor they hired." "Then you are from the bank." Something heavy struck the floor inside. Sam tried the handle. Locked. "Ms. Cade, are you hurt?" "No. Did you fall?" "No. Did something fall on you?" Silence. Sam looked at the wind-driven snow collecting on the stone steps. "I need you to answer clearly. You need to go away. I can do that after I know you're safe. You were hired to take my house apart. Do not pretend concern is part of the invoice." Sam rested one hand against the cold door. "I wasn't hired to pretend anything." Another silence. Then the lock released. The door opened 6 inches. Lenora Cade sat behind it in a black wheelchair with one hand gripping the edge of a narrow table. A shattered glass vase covered the marble floor beside her. Water and white lilies spread beneath the chair. She wore a dark sweater and loose gray trousers. Her hair had been pulled back, without care. No makeup. No jewelry. No sign of the woman whose face had appeared on magazine covers and financial broadcasts for more than a decade. Her eyes remained sharp. That was the first thing Sam noticed. Not the wheelchair, not the exhaustion, the anger. "You have seen that I am alive," she said. "You may leave." Sam looked at the broken vase. The chair's right wheel is caught in the flowers. "I am aware. The glass is under the tire. I am also aware of that. May I move the table?" "No. Then you'll damage the tire if you reverse. It is my tire. It will become my repair if it splits while I'm standing here." Lenora stared at him. Sam waited. Finally, she moved one hand away from the table. He entered, set down his toolbox, and cleared the largest pieces of glass. He folded a towel beneath the wheel and guided the chair backward without touching her. Lenora watched every movement. "You are Samuel Calder," she said. "Yes, independent building systems contractor. Yes, formerly employed by Lumen Habitat." Sam looked up. "For 6 years. You were terminated. My division was closed. Your personnel record lists termination. That is what companies call it when they want the paperwork to sound voluntary on their side. You have an answer for everything." "No, just the things I know." He collected the broken glass. The mansion's main hall was nearly dark. Only a few emergency lights remained active. No staff moved through the rooms. No heat came from the vents. On a console beside the staircase sat a tarnished brass compass inside an open wooden case. Its needle pointed southeast and did not move. Sam noticed the object because everything around it had been packed. Paintings had been removed from the walls. The shelves were empty. Furniture carried auction stickers. The compass remained. Lenora followed his gaze. "Do not touch that." "I wasn't going to." Everyone says that immediately before touching it. Sam placed the broken glass inside an empty box. "What happened to the heating system?" "It was disabled at midnight." The temperature is 49 degrees. I can read the wall display. The house contains water lines and medical equipment. The bank is aware. They shouldn't have shut the system down. They believe the house is empty. Sam looked at her. Did you tell them it wasn't? My attorneys told them. What did they say? That I no longer have legal occupancy. You own the house. I own the company that owned the trust that owned the house. That sounds unnecessarily complicated. It was designed to protect the property. Did it? Lenora's mouth tightened. Sam returned to his toolbox. What are you doing? Restarting the heat. You were sent to disconnect it. I was sent to remove Lumen property. The heating system belongs to the estate. The controller belongs to Lumen. I can put it in manual mode. The order prohibits modification. The order also requires me to comply with safety law. She watched him open the control panel. You have not read the full order. I read it in the van. It is 47 pages. I arrived early. Sam examined the control board. The system had not been shut down from inside the house. A remote administrative command had placed every climate zone into vacancy mode. The same command had disabled the kitchen, locked the exterior service doors, and placed the elevator in maintenance status. Who had access to the estate control account? He asked. Lumen Security. Anyone else? My chief operating officer. Name? You worked for the company. You know his name. Malcolm Say. Lenora turned toward the dark windows. Malcolm controls the company now. Temporarily? He prefers permanently. Sam connected a service device to the controller. The system requested a security certificate. He entered the emergency code printed on the panel. Access denied. He tried the physical override. The panel clicked, but the software rejected the change. This command came from an executive key, Sam said. Malcolm's. Possibly. There is no possibly. Digital records can identify credentials. They do not always identify the person using them. Lenora looked back. Are you defending him? No, you sound like an attorney. I repair systems. Certainty causes expensive mistakes. It also makes decisions possible. So does evidence. He removed the controller cover. A secondary relay had been installed beside the main board. It was not part of the original system. Sam recognized the component. He had designed the first version. The relay allowed emergency staff to control doors, lights, elevators, and medical equipment during disasters. It had been created after a hurricane trapped residents inside an assisted living complex. This relay had been configured differently. Instead of opening access during an emergency, it could close the entire property through one remote command. When was this installed? Sam asked. 3 months ago. Why? A security upgrade. Did you approve it? Malcolm said our insurers required it. Sam photographed the wiring. Did they? I had other things to manage. That is not an answer. Lenora's eyes narrowed. You are standing in my house under an order allowing you to dismantle it. Be careful how you speak to me. Sam returned her stare. My daughter says I am not careful enough. Then perhaps you should listen to her. I usually do. He isolated the relay and restarted the climate system manually. Warm air began moving through the vents. Lenora felt it first against her hands. Her shoulders lowered slightly. You have violated the removal order, she said. Yes, they may refuse to pay you. They may. They may revoke your contractor status. They can try. Why would you risk that for a house that is no longer mine? Sam closed the panel. Because turning off the heat while someone is inside is wrong. That answer sounds rehearsed. It isn't. You expect me to believe you work according to principle? No. What do you expect? Nothing. The word stopped her. Everyone had expected something from Lenora for as long as she could remember. Investors expected growth. Employees expected certainty. Journalists expected confidence. Her father had expected obedience. Her brother had expected partnership. Her fiancé had expected recovery. Even the doctors expected her to become a lesson in endurance. The contractor standing in her hallway expected nothing. She distrusted him immediately. Sam unfolded the legal order. I need to inspect every registered system before I remove anything. You will remove nothing today. That may be true. It is not a negotiation, neither is my inspection. You enjoy contradiction. I enjoy knowing what will stop working before I unplug it. The house will stop working. That is the purpose. The elevator provides access to your bedroom. I can remain on this floor. The accessible bathroom is upstairs. There is another bathroom. It has a narrow doorway. Lenora's face changed. You reviewed the plans. I installed part of the original system. She looked at him more closely. When? 7 years ago. Before the accident. Yes, she remembered the installation team only as helmets, uniforms, and weekly progress reports. At the time, the estate had been a coastal retreat she visited 3 weekends a year. After the accident, Lumen's engineers rebuilt it around her. Door widths changed. Counters lowered. The elevator received voice controls. Windows, blinds, lights, fireplaces, locks, and emergency equipment connected to her chair interface. The house had become a machine she could control. Now the machine belonged to the company that had thrown her out. You helped design the system? She asked. Parts of it. Which parts? The environmental controls. Emergency access. Elevator redundancy. Then you know its value. I know what it does. You could remove it and sell it for more than you will earn in a year. Sam looked at her. Is that what you think I came to do? I think people become practical when money is involved. They do. You agree. I didn't say they become thieves. Lenora rolled toward the office at the end of the hall. You have until noon. To do what? Inspect the systems. And after noon? You leave. Sam checked the frozen elevator display. We'll discuss that when the elevator works. We will not. He picked up his toolbox. Lenora continued toward the office. The right side of her chair hesitated before turning. Sam noticed. She noticed him noticing. The wheel is fine, she said. I didn't ask. You were about to. No, the motor response is delayed. The chair was serviced last week. By Lumen? Yes. Then I'll check it. You will not. Okay, the answer seemed to irritate her more than an argument would have. She disappeared inside the office. Sam called his daughter from the hall. June answered in a whisper. Are you at the castle? It is not a castle. Does it have towers? No. A gate? Yes. More than 10 bathrooms? Probably castle, Sam smiled. Did you eat breakfast? Mrs. Bell made eggs. Did you eat them? She made them. June, I ate some. How much? An amount. That is not a measurement. You say that when you don't like my answer. I'll be home before dinner. You said that yesterday. I was home before dinner. You came while I was eating, technically before you finished. That is cheating. Sam heard Mrs. Bell speaking in the background. Their elderly neighbor had watched June after school and during emergency jobs for almost 3 years. June lowered her voice. Is the billionaire mean? Why would you ask that? Mrs. Bell looked her up. Mrs. Bell needs a hobby. She says the lady stole money. Nothing has been proven. She also says the lady is beautiful but looks angry in every picture. Finish your eggs. Is she angry? Yes, maybe because everybody thinks she stole money. Sam looked toward the office. Maybe. Can you fix her house? I'm supposed to take part of it away. That sounds bad. It is complicated. Complicated is what grown-ups call bad things when they sign papers. Sam closed his eyes. Finish breakfast. I love you. I love you too. He ended the call. Lenora's voice came from the office. She asked too many questions. Sam turned. Lenora sat behind a large desk covered in empty file trays. You listened. You were speaking in my hallway. Technically, the trust's hallway. Do you enjoy reminding me? No, then stop. Sam entered. On the wall behind her, lighter rectangles showed where awards and photographs had hung. One framed picture remained on the desk. Lenora and a younger man stood beside the first Lumen prototype home. Both wore safety helmets. Both were laughing. The man resembled her. Her brother, Theo Cade. He had died in the same accident that injured Lenora. Sam knew the public version. A delivery truck had crossed into their lane during a storm. The car struck a barrier and rolled down an embankment. Theo died at the scene. Lenora sustained a spinal cord injury. Lumen's stock fell for 6 weeks. Lenora returned to work 4 months later and doubled its value within 3 years. Articles called it a triumph. Photographs suggested something else. "What do you need?" Lenora asked. "The equipment inventory." "You have it. I have the creditor inventory. It lists systems by financial value, not function. That is all they care about. I need the maintenance records. They were stored on Lumen's server. Do you have local copies? No? Email? My company account was disabled yesterday. Personal backup? I did not forward confidential files to personal accounts." Sam looked around the room. "Physical manuals?" "The library." The library shelves had been emptied, but several technical binders remained inside a lower cabinet. Sam carried them to the floor beside the elevator controller. The removal order listed 43 items. If he followed it exactly, Lenora would lose control of the doors, elevator, heating zones, emergency generator, transfer lift, kitchen appliances, security cameras, and chair charging station. The creditor had classified each item as proprietary equipment. The order treated the house as an empty demonstration site. "Who wrote this inventory?" he asked. Lenora appeared behind him. "Lumen's Asset Recovery Office." "Who leads it?" "Malcolm appointed a man named Howard Bryce yesterday." "Yesterday?" "He moves quickly. This was prepared before the board removed you." "How do you know?" "The serial numbers were verified during last month's insurance audit." Lenora went still. Sam opened the inventory. Someone created the removal list at least 3 weeks ago. Malcolm knew the vote would succeed. Or he prepared for both outcomes. He froze my accounts before the vote ended. Banks can't move that quickly without instructions. Now you understand. I understand someone planned the transition. Transition? Lenora said the word as though it tasted bitter. They called it an emergency governance action. At 8 Friday evening, I controlled the company. At 9:12, Malcolm told the board that investigators had discovered fraudulent transfers linked to my executive account. At 10, the directors suspended me. By midnight, every personal asset connected to Lumen was frozen. Fraudulent transfers to where? 4 offshore companies. Do you own them? No. Did you authorize the transfers? No. How much? $280 million. Sam looked at her. That is a very large amount to hide badly. Exactly. You think the evidence was designed to be found. I know it was. Can you prove that? If I could, you would not be standing here. She turned toward the windows. Outside, waves struck the rocks below the estate. The board believes I transferred company money before declaring an expansion loss. Federal investigators believe I may have used Lumen's housing foundations to hide the payments. The banks invoked morality clauses in our lending agreements. My personal shares were pledged as collateral under a guarantee I never signed. Where is the original guarantee? Lumen's legal department claims it is valid. That doesn't answer the question. No one will show it to me. Sam studied the asset list again, and Malcolm becomes chief executive. Interim chief executive. You don't believe the interim part. Malcolm has been waiting 20 years to remove that word. A chime sounded from the wall. The elevator controller had restarted. Sam tested the doors. They opened. The interior lights flickered, then stabilized. Lenora looked at him. You fixed it. I bypassed the remote lockout. How long will that last? Until someone notices. They are watching the system. Then not long. She moved toward the elevator. The chair hesitated again during the turn. Sam noticed a slight movement in her left foot when the chair stopped abruptly. A downward pressure. Then, nothing. Lenora followed his eyes. What? The footplate shifted. It does that. Does your foot move with it? My foot does not move. I didn't say it did. Her expression closed. Do not become curious about my body. Sam stepped back. Understood, she entered the elevator. Before the doors closed, she said, You have 58 minutes. At noon, Sam had removed nothing. He had restored the heat, elevator, kitchen power, medical outlets, and chair charging station. Lenora waited in the office with the removal order on the desk. You have completed your inspection. Yes, now leave. I need your signature. For what? A refusal of service. I am not refusing service. You are refusing to perform it. I cannot remove systems that create an immediate safety risk. You were hired to do exactly that. I was hired to decommission proprietary equipment at a vacant property. The creditor will claim I am trespassing. That is between you and the creditor. It becomes your problem if they cancel your license. Yes, you have a daughter. Yes, a daughter who depends on your income. Yes. And you are prepared to lose it because you dislike a work order? Sam folded the document. I dislike orders written to hide what they are doing. Lenora stared at him. You believe this is moral courage? No. What is it then? Refusing to leave someone in a house without heat, an elevator, or a working door. You think I need you? No, then stop behaving as though you are rescuing me. I'm not. You arrived, ignored my instructions, violated a creditor order, and repaired systems you were told to remove. Yes, what do you call that? Finishing the job correctly. Lenora's eyes hardened. Get out. Sam placed the refusal form on the desk. I'll return tomorrow. No, the remote lockout will probably reactivate tonight. I will call another contractor. They will have the same order. They may understand employment. Probably do not come back. Sam picked up his toolbox. At the office door, he looked at the brass compass on the hall console. The needle is stuck. Lenora's voice became dangerous. Leave it alone. I will. Why mention it? It moved when the heat restarted. She looked toward the compass. Its needle now rested slightly farther north. Magnetic interference, Sam said. Something in the wall or control system may be affecting it. It has pointed incorrectly for 9 years. Since the accident? Lenora's face emptied. Sam regretted the question. Go, she said. He left. That evening, the bank canceled his contract. By morning, the licensing authority had received a complaint accusing him of damaging secured property. At 6:18, Sam stood inside his apartment kitchen, reading the notice while June ate cereal from a chipped blue bowl. You look like the eggs are bad, she said. There are no eggs. That might be why. Sam placed the phone down. Mrs. Bell poured coffee at the counter. What happened? The estate creditor filed a complaint. Because you turned the heat on? Because I refused to remove the systems. Mrs. Bell looked at him over her glasses. Were you supposed to? Yes. Would removing them hurt the woman? It would make the house unusable. Then you did right. Doing right and paying rent are different activities. June raised her spoon. Can people take your job? They can stop hiring me. Because you helped someone? Because I did not follow the contract. Was the contract wrong? Sam looked at her. I think so. Then why did you sign it? I didn't know what it required until I arrived. June considered this. You tell me to stop when I learn something is unsafe. Yes, even if I already said I would do it. Yes, so you followed your rule. Mrs. Bell smiled. Sam did not. Rules were easier to defend when they did not threaten rent, food, and health insurance. The phone rang. The number was private. Sam answered. Mr. Calder? Malcolm Say's voice was smooth and familiar. Sam had heard it at company meetings and in training videos. Malcolm never sounded hurried. Even bad news arrived from him wrapped in patience. You violated a secured asset order yesterday, Malcolm said. I filed a safety refusal. You restored systems after access had been revoked. Someone was living inside the property. Ms. Cade has no right to occupy that residence. That does not make it safe to shut off the heat. You were not asked for a legal opinion. I didn't provide one. You also photographed proprietary equipment. For the service report, the photographs were not uploaded. My access was disabled before I could upload them. Delete them. No, a pause. That was not a request. It sounded like one. Mr. Calder, Lumen continued paying your health insurance for 6 months after your division closed. That was part of the separation agreement. I approved it. I signed away a patent claim in exchange. You believe the company owes you? No. Then do not involve yourself in a dispute you do not understand. Sam looked toward June. She was pretending not to listen. What happened to the estate control account? He asked. Malcolm's voice changed slightly. What? Someone installed an emergency relay 3 months ago and used it to disable the house. That is not your concern. The removal order was prepared weeks before Lenora was suspended. Ms. Cade is under investigation for theft. Then why hide the date? You are speaking recklessly. Probably. Malcolm became quiet. Then he said, You have a 7-year-old daughter named June. Sam's grip tightened around the phone. What does she have to do with this? Nothing, provided you understand the consequences of unstable employment. Your lease is already 2 months behind. Your commercial insurance expires Friday. If your license is suspended, you will be unable to renew it. That sounds like a threat. It is practical advice from a former employer. You researched my daughter to give me practical advice? I reviewed your personnel file. Delete the complaint. I cannot. Then stop calling me. Sam ended the call. Mrs. Bell had heard enough. You are going back, she said. No, you have that face. What face? The face you had when June's school installed those faulty heaters. That was different. You spent 6 weeks proving the vents were dangerous. They were leaking exhaust. And everyone told you to mind your business. Sam picked up his coffee. Mrs. Bell continued. You do not know how to leave a crooked thing alone. That is not always a virtue. No, but it is the reason people call you when buildings stop working. June pushed her bowl away. Is the billionaire alone? Sam looked at her. Yes. Then maybe the house stopped working because it knows. Buildings do not know when people are alone. You always say smart houses learn. That is different. Maybe not. At 8:30, Sam's phone received an automated alert from the estate system. The elevator had returned to maintenance mode. The internal temperature was dropping. A second notification followed. Medical power circuit disconnected. Sam had never subscribed to those alerts. Someone had added his number to the emergency account. Only Lenora could have done it. He called her. No answer. He called again. Nothing. At 9:16 he was knocking on her door. This time, the doors had locked electronically. Sam opened the exterior control box. The emergency relay had reactivated and blocked his service code. He used the manual release. Inside, the house was silent. Lenora? No answer. He moved through the main hall. The brass compass lay on the floor beside its open case. Sam found her in the elevator. The car had stopped 18 inches below the upper floor. The doors remained open, but the chair could not cross the raised edge. Lenora sat inside with a blanket around her shoulders. Her phone was dead. How long have you been here? 2 hours. Why didn't you use the emergency line? It connected to Lumen Security. What did they say? That I was not authorized to operate company equipment. Sam looked at the control panel. Did you add my number to the house alerts? No, you are the only local administrator. Then perhaps the house became sentimental. He opened his toolbox. You told me not to return. You have difficulty following instructions. Yes, you may leave after lowering the elevator. No. Lenora stared at him. I will lower the elevator, restore medical power, isolate the relay, and check your chair motor. You will not touch the chair. It is losing torque. I know. How long? A week. Why didn't the service technician repair it? He said the motor was functioning with intolerance. It isn't. You were terminated from Lumen. Why do you believe your judgment is better? Because your chair nearly stopped during the turn yesterday. You noticed too much. It is an occupational problem. He released the elevator brake and lowered the car manually. When the floor aligned, Lenora moved forward. The right wheel stalled. Sam caught the frame before the chair turned sideways. Lenora's hand landed on his shoulder. They remained still for a moment. She removed it immediately. Do not mistake necessity for trust. I won't. He inspected the motor. The physical components were sound. The software had reduced power to 40%. This was changed remotely, he said. Why? The profile says the reduction was ordered after a safety incident. There was no incident. Who has access to your chair account? Lumen Mobility. Malcolm controls that division too. Lenora looked away. They are trying to make you leave the house, Sam said. They have already succeeded. You're still here. For 3 days. The court hearing is Thursday. If I cannot prove residency rights, security can remove me. Where will you go? A hotel. With frozen accounts? I still have friends. Do you? The question came out before Sam could stop it. Lenora's face became still. I had 300 people at my last foundation dinner. That wasn't what I asked. No, it was not. Sam returned the chair to full power and disabled remote updates. Lenora tested it. The response was immediate. Better, she said. You don't sound surprised. I expected you to fix it. You barely know me. I know you returned after losing the contract. That is not the same as competence. No, she said. It is more unusual. Sam rebuilt the estate's emergency controls so they could not be disabled remotely without a physical code inside the house. The work took 4 hours. Lenora watched from the office. At noon, she asked, how much? For what? The repairs. You don't currently have access to money. That is not what I asked. I'll send an invoice after the court decides who owns the equipment. I own enough jewelry to pay you. Keep it. Her expression hardened. I do not accept charity. Neither do I. Then send an invoice. I did not come because you hired me. Why did you come? The medical circuit failed. That explains the first hour. I was already here. That explains nothing. Sam closed the panel. People do not need a dramatic reason to finish useful work. You are risking your license. It is already under review. Your home. How do you know about my home? Malcolm sent me a copy of the complaint. Your financial records were attached as evidence that you might steal equipment. Sam went still. He sent my lease records to you? Yes. Why? To prove you were desperate. And what did you conclude? Lenora met his eyes. That desperate people are not always dishonest. Sam looked away first. She continued. I can transfer payment through an attorney. No. Why? Because Malcolm wants a financial connection between us. Lenora understood immediately. A payment from her could be described as bribery. A secret contract could support the claim that she had recruited Sam to alter evidence or steal equipment. You are thinking more clearly than my legal team, she said. Your legal team works for Lumen. Not all of them. Who pays them? She did not answer. Sam wiped his hands on a cloth. You need an attorney who does not answer to the company. I need money to retain one. What about your personal lawyer? Malcolm filed a conflict complaint. She withdrew this morning. He planned this. Yes, what evidence do you still have? Very little. The house logs? Controlled by Lumen. Local backups? The system overwrites them every 24 hours. Sam looked toward the estate controller. Not all of them. The original Lumen system stored disaster logs inside isolated mechanical units. The feature existed because network records could disappear during fires, storms, and cyber attacks. Each elevator, generator, climate controller, and medical circuit held a short local history. The records could not prove financial fraud. But they could show when Malcolm's people began preparing the estate seizure. Sam retrieved the data. The first unauthorized command appeared 89 days earlier. Remote tests had been performed on the doors, elevator, medical outlets, and chair charger. The commands came from an executive certificate assigned to Lenora. She had been in Switzerland at the time, speaking at a housing conference. Someone cloned your key, Sam said. Malcolm, or someone working for him. Why keep protecting the distinction? Because accusing the wrong person helps the right one. Lenora rolled closer to the screen. The log showed another action. A hidden administrator had created a folder called Harbor Continuity. What is that? Sam asked. I don't know. The folder was opened every night at 2:10. Can you access it? Not through this controller. Where does it connect? Sam traced the address. The destination was not inside Lumen's main network. It belonged to a remote demonstration home in Providence. The site had been closed 6 months earlier. I installed that facility, Sam said. Why was it closed? My division found structural defects. Management canceled the program instead of repairing them. Who made that decision? Malcolm. The building was still owned by Lumen. If Harbor Continuity's server remained inside, it might contain copies of the commands used against Lenora. "We need to inspect it," she said. "You cannot leave this property without security noticing." "You can. My license is under review. Then we are both inconvenient witnesses." Sam looked at the time. "I have to collect June from school." Lenora seemed surprised. Of course. The words carried a strange emptiness. Sam packed his tools. "I can return afterward. You have already done enough. That sounds unlike you. Your daughter needs you. So does this investigation. That is not the same." "No." Lenora looked toward the photograph of Theo. "What happened to her mother?" Sam's hand stopped. "Cancer. I am sorry. Thank you. How long ago?" 4 years. "June remembers her?" Pieces. Lenora's fingers rested against the chair arm. "My mother died when I was 9. People told me I was lucky to have memories." "Were you?" "Memories are not the same as a person." "No." She looked at him. "Go collect your daughter. I'll return tomorrow." "I may not be here." "Then answer your phone." Sam left. He did not return the next day. At 11 that morning, the licensing authority suspended his contractor registration pending investigation. The bank froze the payment account used by his business. His landlord delivered a formal eviction notice. Then Malcolm filed a police complaint alleging that Sam had stolen proprietary data from Lenora's estate. 2 officers arrived while June was at school. Sam surrendered his service laptop and phone. They searched the apartment. Mrs. Bell stood in the hallway with her arms crossed and asked the officers whether they planned to repair the cabinet they damaged. They did not. By evening, every major client had canceled Sam's scheduled work. He sat at the kitchen table with unpaid bills spread before him. June colored a picture of a lighthouse. "Are we moving?" she asked. "Maybe. Where?" "I don't know yet." "Because of the billionaire?" "No, because you helped her." "Because someone wants me to stop." June continued coloring. "Are you stopping?" Sam looked at the bills. "I should." "That is not what I asked." He smiled despite himself. "You sound like Mrs. Bell. She is usually right." The apartment buzzer sounded. Mrs. Bell opened the downstairs door. Several minutes later, Lenora Cade entered the apartment building in her wheelchair. The elevator was too narrow. Sam found her at the bottom of the stairs with a private driver standing behind her. "What are you doing here?" "You stopped answering." "The police have my phone." "I know. How?" "I called your licensing office." "That does not explain how you found my home." Malcolm attached your lease to the complaint. Sam looked at the stairs. "You cannot get up." "I had noticed. I'll come down." June appeared behind him. "Is that the billionaire?" Lenora looked up. Unfortunately, June descended the stairs quickly. Sam followed. "June, slow down." She stopped in front of Lenora. "You look less angry than the pictures." Sam closed his eyes. Lenora raised one eyebrow. "Your father said you asked too many questions." "That wasn't a question." "No, it was not." June examined the wheelchair. "Did they take your house?" "They are trying." "They are trying to take ours too." Sam placed one hand on June's shoulder. "That is enough." Lenora's face changed. "They suspended your license," she said. "Yes, I can correct that." "No, I can provide a sworn statement that I requested the repairs." "You didn't. I sent the emergency alert. You added my number?" "Yes." "Why deny it?" "I was not ready to admit I wanted you to return." June looked between them. Grown-ups make simple things strange. Lenora almost smiled. Sam turned to the driver. "Can you help us lift the chair over the first steps?" "I do not need to enter," Lenora said. "It is freezing. I will speak here." June looked at her father. "She can't stay in the hallway." Sam knew that. Lenora knew he knew. With the driver's help, they carried the chair up the first 4 steps to the landing. The upper staircase remained impossible, so Sam brought chairs and blankets down. Mrs. Bell arrived with tea and enough food for everyone. She looked at Lenora. "You are thinner than the television makes you look." "Mrs. Bell?" Sam said. "What?" "The camera adds weight." Lenora accepted a cup. "Thank you." Mrs. Bell nodded approvingly. "At least she has manners." They gathered on the landing beneath a flickering light. Lenora placed a small storage device in Sam's hand. "What is this?" A copy of the local estate logs. You removed it? I duplicated the data before Lumen deleted it. Why bring it here? The Providence server is being destroyed tonight. How do you know? A former assistant called me. Malcolm ordered the building cleared before the court hearing. Sam looked toward June. Lenora followed his gaze. You cannot go, she said. You came here because you want me to. I came because the evidence should not disappear. That is the same thing. No. It is. Lenora lowered her voice. I will hire someone else. Who? She had no answer. Everyone qualified to enter a Lumen site either worked for Malcolm or feared him. Sam stood. Mrs. Bell, can June stay with you? June shook her head. No, June. You said we might have to leave. Not tonight. You don't know. Sam looked at Lenora. She saw the fear his daughter had been hiding behind questions. Lenora placed her tea on the floor. Come with us. Sam frowned. No, why? She is 7, and safer beside you than wondering whether you will return. June looked at her father. She is right. Sam looked toward Mrs. Bell. The older woman shrugged. I dislike it, but she is right. An hour later, June sat inside Lenora's accessible van with a backpack, a blanket, and 3 peanut butter sandwiches Mrs. Bell had packed. Lenora sat across from her. Sam occupied the front passenger seat. The driver headed toward Providence through heavy rain. June studied Lenora. Were you born rich? No. When did you get rich? When the company became successful. How much money is $1 billion? More than one person needs. Then why did you keep making more? The driver coughed to hide a laugh. Lenora considered the question. Because money became a way to measure whether the company was safe. Did it make it safe? No. June looked through the window. Dad measures safety by checking the door 3 times. I check it twice, Sam said. 3. Lenora looked at him. Why? Sam kept his eyes on the road. After Claire became ill, I started checking things. Claire was your wife? Yes. Did checking help? No. June leaned against her blanket. But he still does it. Lenora understood that too. People kept habits long after the habits stopped protecting them. The Providence demonstration home stood inside a fenced industrial site near the river. The building looked like an ordinary modern house, but it contained hundreds of experimental systems beneath the walls. The gate access had been disabled. Sam opened it manually. Inside the house, emergency lights glowed red. The demolition crew was expected at midnight. They had less than 2 hours. Lenora remained in the main living area with June while Sam searched for the server. The child examined the empty rooms. Why is everything fake? It was built to test technology, Lenora said. Did people live here? For short periods. Did you? Once before the wheelchair? Yes, June looked toward Lenora's legs. My mom used a wheelchair near the end. Lenora's expression softened. Did she? She hated when people pushed without asking. So do I. She ran over Dad's foot once. Twice, Sam called from behind a wall panel. June smiled. She said the first time was an accident. It was not, Sam said. Lenora looked toward the open panel. For the first time in days, warmth moved through her face. June sat on the floor beside the chair. Did people stop asking you things after the wheelchair? What do you mean? People asked Mom about medicine. They stopped asking about normal things. Lenora looked at the empty kitchen. Yes, what normal things do you like? I don't know. That is not normal. No. Do you like grilled cheese? Sometimes dogs? I had one as a child. Music? Yes, Dad? Sam struck his head against the inside of the panel. Lenora stared at June. I have known your father for 2 days. He keeps going back to your house. For the equipment. No, he doesn't. Sam emerged. June? She looked at him. You said not to lie. I said not to ask personal questions. That rule is too broad. Lenora turned her chair toward the window, but Sam saw the slight color in her face. He found the harbor continuity server behind the main emergency controller. The storage unit was still active. Someone had attempted to erase it remotely, but the demolition site network had been disconnected. Sam connected an offline drive. The server required an executive certificate. Lenora placed her hand on the biometric panel. Access denied. She tried again. The system displayed a message. User deceased or inactive. June, read the screen. It thinks you're dead. Lenora's face changed. That is how Malcolm transferred control, she said. He changed my status before the board vote. Sam opened the hardware cabinet. The server had a physical recovery mode. It required 2 original authorization tokens. One belonged to Lenora, the other had belonged to Theo. Where is your brother's token? Sam asked. Destroyed in the accident. Are you sure? I saw his personal effects. Could it be inside something he carried? Lenora became still. The brass compass. Theo had designed the company's first security tokens to fit inside ordinary objects. He distrusted cards and hated digital wallets. Lenora's compass had been in the car with them. He repaired the compass the day before the accident, she said. Did you ever open the case? No. Where is it now? At the estate. The demolition crew was less than an hour away. They did not have time to return. Sam examined the server board. Can you bypass it? Lenora asked. Not without damaging the authentication record. We need the data, not the record. The record proves who accessed the server. Then find another way. Sam worked while Lenora watched. June folded a paper napkin into something resembling a bird. After 20 minutes, Sam found an unused service port. He connected the local log drive. The system accepted the estate controller as a trusted device. Files began appearing. Harbor Continuity was not a security project. It was a duplicate financial environment. Someone had copied Lenora's executive credentials, created false foundation transfers, and tested how the transactions would appear during an audit. Every fraudulent payment had been rehearsed. Each one carried a date, amount, destination account, and internal approval trail. The oldest test was 8 months old. Malcolm built the evidence before the money moved, Lenora said. Sam opened the administrator log. The account was registered to Malcolm Say. There was no ambiguity, no assistant, no stolen credential. His biometric signature appeared beside every test. Lenora stared at the screen. I trusted him. Sam said nothing. He was Theo's best friend. The words came quietly. My father hired Malcolm when we were still in college. He taught us how to negotiate loans. He sat beside me at Theo's funeral. He ran the company during my recovery. Sam copied the files. Lenora continued staring. He said he would protect Lumen until I could return. June looked up from the folded napkin. Maybe he liked protecting it more than giving it back. Lenora turned toward her. The child's words landed where adult explanations had failed. Malcolm had not suddenly betrayed her. He had spent years becoming necessary. Then he had mistaken necessity for ownership. A truck entered the industrial yard. The demolition crew had arrived early. Sam disconnected the drive. Time to go. The building's security shutters began closing. Malcolm had received an alert. The front door locked. Sam ran to the control panel. The demolition crew outside began pounding on the glass. A voice came through the intercom. This property is closed. Remain where you are. Lenora recognized Howard Bryce, the man Malcolm had appointed to recover her assets. Sam opened the emergency system. The doors ignored his command. They control the building remotely, he said. Can you stop them? Lenora asked. Not from here. June looked toward a narrow service hatch near the floor. What is that? Manual ventilation access, Sam said. Can someone fit? No, June stood. I can. Absolutely not. You said the door controls are behind the wall. Sam looked at the hatch. A maintenance crawlspace connected the living area to the utility room. The emergency release was less than 15 feet away. The space was dusty but not dangerous. It was still a confined maintenance passage. No, he repeated. June crossed her arms. We stay locked in, or I crawl over and pull the handle? There may be wiring. You turn it off. There may be sharp edges. You have gloves. Lenora looked at Sam. She is offering a workable solution. She is 7. I will be 8 in 4 months. That changes nothing. The demolition crew began forcing the exterior panel. If Howard entered, he could seize the drive before they left. Sam looked at June. Fear pressed against every instinct he had. After Claire died, he had built his life around preventing every possible danger. He checked doors, food, heaters, windows, routes, and medicines. He had promised June that he would never let anything happen to her. It was an impossible promise. Promises like that eventually became cages. He opened his toolbox and removed gloves, goggles, and a flashlight. You stop if I say stop. Yes, you tell me if you see anything sharp. Yes, you do not touch a wire. I know. You move slowly. Dad, say it. I move slowly. June entered the crawl space. Sam watched through the access camera on his service tablet. Lenora remained beside him. You can breathe, she said. I am breathing. Badly, June crawled past 2 cable bundles. Left or right? She called. Right, I see the handle. Pull down and turn. It's stuck. Use both hands. The exterior panel opened. Howard's crew entered the front room. At the same moment, June pulled the emergency release. The side door opened. Sam lifted her from the hatch. They moved through the utility exit and reached the van seconds before Howard appeared outside. He shouted for them to stop. Lenora looked at the driver. Go. The van left the property. June sat beside her father, breathing hard. Sam checked her hands, knees, face, and clothes. I'm okay. I know. Then stop checking. I'm working on it. Lenora held the storage drive against her chest. For the first time since she lost the company, she had proof. The victory lasted 18 minutes. Police stopped the van before they reached the highway. Howard had reported a theft at a restricted corporate facility. Sam was arrested. Lenora's storage drive was seized. June watched officers place her father in handcuffs. She did not cry until the police car left. Then she turned toward Lenora. You said he would be safe. I didn't. You brought us there. Yes, they took him because of you. Lenora accepted the accusation. Yes, the driver tried to comfort June. She pulled away. Lenora looked at the road ahead. Her evidence was gone. Sam was in custody. Malcolm would claim the server files had been fabricated or stolen, and a child whose father had already lost almost everything was crying because Lenora had allowed him to risk what remained. For one terrible moment, Lenora wanted to retreat into the old version of herself. Issue orders, call lawyers, move money, control every person in reach. But control had built the trap they were now inside. She needed something else. She moved closer to June. I cannot promise they will release him quickly. June wiped her face. I know. I can promise I will not leave him there alone. How? I will go to the police station. I will give a statement. I will say the investigation was my decision. They will blame you. Yes. Will they arrest you? Possibly. June looked frightened. Lenora continued. You may stay with the driver or return to Mrs. Bell. No. June, I'm going with you. Your father would object. He objects to everything when he's scared. Lenora almost smiled. Yes. At the station, Lenora gave investigators the full story. She surrendered her local estate logs, explained the harbor continuity server, and demanded forensic preservation of the seized drive. Malcolm's lawyers arrived within an hour. They claimed Lenora had manipulated a financially desperate former employee into stealing trade secrets. They presented Sam's overdue rent, suspended license, and old employment dispute as evidence. Lenora listened. Then she asked to see the original personal guarantee used to seize her shares. The lawyers refused. Because it does not exist, she said. It has been authenticated by Lumen's legal department. Yes, the department reports to Malcolm. The board reviewed the document. Show it to an independent examiner. One lawyer closed his folder. This is not the venue. No, Lenora said. This is the place where you accused a father of theft for retrieving evidence of a crime. Sam was released shortly after midnight because the seized drive contained financial records matching the transfers under investigation. The police could no longer treat it as ordinary stolen property. June ran toward him in the lobby. He caught her. Lenora watched from across the room. Sam held his daughter tightly, then looked at Lenora. You took her to the station. She refused to leave. She is 7. So she informed me repeatedly. Sam checked June again. Did anyone question you? No. Did you eat? Chips, that is not dinner. Lenora bought sandwiches. Sam looked at Lenora. She seemed smaller beneath the police station lights. Not physically, Something inside her had lowered its defenses. "I'm sorry," she said. "For what?" "For the arrest. You didn't call the police. I brought you into the investigation. I came back to your house after you told me to leave. That does not remove my responsibility." "No." The honesty surprised her. Sam continued, "But responsibility is not the same as blame." June looked between them. "Can we go home?" Sam's face tightened. The eviction deadline had passed while he was in custody. His landlord had changed the building access code. Lenora understood from his silence. "You can stay at the estate," she said. "No. It has rooms. It may be seized Thursday. Then we will all be inconvenient together. I will find a hotel." "With what account?" Sam looked at her. She regretted the question. "I'm sorry." "No, you're right." June pulled his sleeve. "I want to go to the castle." "It isn't a castle. It has an elevator and a gate." Lenora looked at Sam. She has established a definition. Sam was too tired to argue. They returned to the estate before dawn. The next morning, Lenora found June asleep on the office sofa beneath Sam's coat. Sam sat on the floor beside the estate controller, examining the copied server data. "You should sleep," Lenora said. "So should you." "I am not tired. You fell asleep in the van." "That was strategic rest." "Of course." She moved closer. "Did the police preserve the files?" "Yes. The metadata is intact. Will it prove Malcolm created the transfers? It proves his account built the transaction models. He will say someone used his credentials. His biometric signatures repeat across 8 months. He will say they were copied. Then we need the second token." "The compass." "Yes," Lenora looked toward the hall. "I should have taken it. You didn't know. I knew Theo hid security devices inside ordinary objects. You also believed the token was destroyed. I did not want to open the compass." "Why?" Her face closed. Sam waited. The room remained quiet, except for June's breathing. Finally, Lenora spoke. "Theo gave me the compass when we founded Lumen." Sam looked toward the photograph. "He said we needed one object in the office that could tell us when we were moving in the wrong direction." "Did it?" "No." "What happened the night of the accident?" Lenora stared at the window. The confession arrived without drama. She had been driving. Theo had asked her to slow down. They were arguing about Malcolm. Theo had discovered that Malcolm was pressuring small contractors to sell patents below value. He wanted to suspend him. Lenora refused. Lumen was preparing for its largest public offering. Removing the chief financial officer would have frightened investors. Theo accused her of caring more about the company's valuation than the people who built it. Lenora accused him of being sentimental. The argument continued as rain turned to ice. A truck crossed the center line. Lenora swerved. The car struck the barrier. Theo died with the compass inside his coat. When the police returned his belongings, the glass was cracked, she said. The needle pointed southeast. I never opened it. Because it was his last object. Because his final argument was that I had lost direction. Sam said nothing. I kept Malcolm, she continued. After the accident, I needed him. Every time I considered removing him, I remembered Theo warning me. Admitting Theo was right meant admitting the argument that distracted me before the crash had been pointless. The crash was not punishment. I was driving. The truck crossed the line. I was angry. Anger did not move the truck. You sound certain. I know what guilt does when it cannot change the past. Lenora looked at him. Claire? Sam lowered his eyes. Claire's cancer had been diagnosed late. For months she told Sam she was tired. He believed work, parenting, and stress explained it. She believed him because he repaired complicated systems for a living and spoke with confidence. By the time they found the tumor, treatment could only slow it. I did not cause her illness, Sam said, but I dismissed what she was telling me. You were not her doctor. No, you could not diagnose cancer. No, then why do you blame yourself? Because I loved being the person who had answers. When she said something felt wrong, I explained it instead of listening. Lenora looked toward the local data screen. That is why you listen to machines. Machines do not become quieter because you interrupt them. And people? They do. June moved beneath the coat, but did not wake. Lenora watched her. What happened after Claire died? I took leave from Lumen. Malcolm eliminated my division before I returned. Why? We had reported safety defects in a housing project he wanted to launch. The Providence site. Yes, you believe he removed you because you objected. I believed it was possible. I didn't investigate. Why not? I was trying to keep June alive, fed, dressed, and moving forward. Lenora's voice softened. You succeeded. Most days. They remained beside the sleeping child. Neither tried to turn the shared wounds into romance. That would have been too easy. They simply allowed the other person's grief to exist without correcting it. The court hearing began Thursday morning. Malcolm arrived with 6 attorneys, 3 board members, and a medical specialist prepared to argue that Lenora's judgment had deteriorated after the accident. Lenora arrived with Sam, June, Mrs. Bell, and a public interest attorney who agreed to represent her after reviewing the harbor continuity files. The courtroom was full. Reporters waited outside. Malcolm approached before the judge entered. He looked at Sam. You could have ended this with your license intact. Sam said nothing. Malcolm turned to Lenora. You brought a child to a corporate hearing. June is not testifying. She is being used to create sympathy. June looked at him. You talk like a villain in a school play. Mrs. Bell covered a smile. Malcolm ignored her. Lenora, withdraw the challenge. The board will provide a residence, medical care, and a lifetime allowance. You mean you will purchase my silence with my own money? The company needs stability. The company needs an audit. You are destroying Theo's legacy. Lenora's face changed. Sam saw it. Malcolm had used Theo's name deliberately. Before Lenora could respond, June spoke. Her brother is not your shield. Every adult turned. June looked uncertain for the first time. That is what Mrs. Bell said in the car. Mrs. Bell lifted her chin. I did. The judge entered. The hearing began. Lumen's attorneys presented the personal guarantee bearing Lenora's signature. The document pledged her shares and estate against losses connected to executive misconduct. Lenora's attorney requested the original. Lumen produced a digital copy. No original exists, the attorney said. The agreement was executed electronically. Sam examined the signature certificate displayed on the courtroom screen. The certificate appeared valid. The date did not. It had been issued 91 days earlier, the same day the estate relay was tested. The device used to sign it was registered as Lenora's chair control tablet. Lenora had been undergoing an 8-hour medical procedure that day. The clinic confirmed the tablet remained locked inside a storage room. Malcolm's attorney argued that Lenora could have signed remotely through another device. Sam asked permission to demonstrate the system. The judge allowed it. He placed Lenora's chair tablet on the evidence table. The Lumen interface does not sign documents directly, he explained. It sends approval through the user's executive token, which Ms. Cade possessed, the opposing attorney said. Not on the date shown. How can you know that? Because her original token was damaged 9 years ago. Malcolm's expression changed, only slightly. Sam saw it. So did Lenora. The company issued a replacement, the attorney said. Yes, but the certificate on this guarantee is not the replacement. Sam enlarged the identification number. It is Theo Cade's original executive token. The courtroom became silent. Malcolm's attorney objected. Sam continued only after the judge allowed him. Theo's token was never deactivated. Someone used it to create a second identity under Lenora's profile. Where is this alleged token? The attorney asked. Lenora looked toward the estate evidence box. The police had collected the brass compass that morning. An officer placed it on the table. The cracked glass reflected the courtroom lights. Lenora's hand trembled. Sam did not touch the compass until she nodded. He opened the back case carefully. Behind the mechanical movement sat a thin black security chip. Theo's token. The judge ordered an immediate forensic comparison. The identification number matched the guarantee. The same token had created the harbor continuity environment, approved the false transfers, and issued commands to shut down Lenora's estate. But one final question remained. Who had possessed the compass after Theo's death? Lenora answered. Malcolm. He had collected Theo's belongings from the hospital. because Lenora was in surgery. He returned the compass 3 weeks later. Malcolm's face finally lost its calm. That proves nothing, he said. The judge warned him to remain silent. Lenora's attorney presented another record from the harbor server. The recovery system had captured a physical authentication event 8 months earlier. Malcolm's fingerprint. His voice authorization. His image from the Providence demonstration home. The fraud was no longer an allegation. It was a record. The judge froze Malcolm's authority over Lumen, blocked the sale, restored Lenora's voting shares temporarily, and referred the evidence to federal investigators. The estate seizure was suspended. Sam's charges were dismissed. His contractor license remained under review, but the complaint against him collapsed before lunch. Malcolm left the courtroom through a side entrance. He did not look at Lenora. There was no dramatic confrontation, no speech, no public humiliation. He simply lost the power he had spent years stealing. Outside, reporters surrounded Lenora. She gave one statement. My company was not stolen in one night. Trust was misused slowly, then the final act happened quickly. Lumen will be rebuilt by the people who still remember why it was created. A reporter shouted, Did Samuel Calder save your empire? Lenora looked toward Sam. He stood beside June near the courthouse steps. No, she said. He noticed that I was still inside it. The investigation continued for months. Malcolm was charged with fraud, conspiracy, evidence manipulation, and attempted corporate theft. Several executives cooperated with prosecutors. 2 board members resigned. Lenora returned to Lumen headquarters but refused to resume business as before. She opened the contractor files Theo had once tried to show her. Small inventors had been pressured into selling patents. Safety reports had been buried. Accessibility projects had been delayed because luxury systems produced larger margins. The company had not only lost its direction under Malcolm. Lenora had allowed it to happen while chasing growth. She could recover the empire. She could not pretend it had been healthy. Sam helped her audit the building control division. At first, he worked from a temporary desk because his contractor registration had not been fully restored. Lenora offered him an executive position. He refused. She offered to clear his rent debt. He refused that too. She became angry. You slept in my house for 3 weeks. Because mine was unavailable. You protected evidence worth billions. Because it was evidence. You lost your business. It needed rebuilding anyway. You are turning self-denial into a personality. And you are turning gratitude into control. They stood inside Lumen's prototype laboratory while engineers pretended not to listen. Lenora lowered her voice. What do you want? A proper contract. I offered one. You offered a title. What is the difference? A title says where I sit. A contract says what I build. She stared at him. What do you want to build? Sam placed a proposal on the table. Thousands of adaptive home systems stopped functioning when residents lost insurance, changed providers, or fell behind on service payments. Companies claimed ownership of software inside privately owned equipment. A door could belong to a homeowner while the code opening it belonged to a corporation. A wheelchair user could own a house but lose the digital right to control the elevator. Sam proposed a new platform called Open Haven. Every essential accessibility function would remain operational regardless of account status, company failure, or ownership dispute. Residents would control local emergency systems. No remote executive could disable heat, doors, medical power, or mobility equipment without independent approval. Lenora read the proposal twice. This would force us to give customers permanent control. Yes, it would reduce service revenue. Yes, investors will object. Yes, you sound pleased. A little. She placed the proposal down. The company was built around integrated control. The company was built to make homes answer to people. Lenora looked toward Theo's photograph on the laboratory wall. Sam continued, You decide which version survives. Open Haven became Lumen's new core program. Former employees returned. Small contractors received new agreements restoring patent rights and royalties. The board created an employee trust with voting representation. Lenora canceled the sale of the estate and converted part of it into a testing center for independent living systems. Sam and June remained there longer than expected. Their apartment became available again, but June began attending school nearby. Mrs. Bell moved into a guest cottage after Lenora discovered the older woman's building had no functioning elevator. Mrs. Bell claimed it was temporary. No one believed her. June transformed the mansion. She left shoes beside doors. Books appeared on stairs. Colored pencils occupied Lenora's conference table. A paper sign reading castle rules appeared beside the elevator. Rule 1. Ask before helping. Rule 2. Pancakes can be dinner. Rule 3. Angry people still need snacks. Rule 4. Do not turn off important machines. Rule 5. No meetings during movies. Lenora objected to Rule 5. June refused to negotiate. The real wall between them broke one rainy afternoon. Lenora had been preparing for a board presentation when severe nerve pain forced her to stop. She moved to the sunroom and closed the doors. Sam knew better than to enter without permission. June did not. She knocked once and rolled a plate of crackers beneath the door. Lenora opened it. You cannot deliver food through a door. I just did. I am working. You're not. Lenora looked at the untouched laptop beside her. June entered and sat on the floor. Does it hurt? Yes. Do you want Dad? No. Do you want me to leave? Lenora hesitated. No. June began drawing. For 10 minutes, neither spoke. Then the child asked, Are you scared the money will disappear again? Sometimes, Dad checks the door when he is scared. I know. What do you check? Lenora looked toward her phone where company values, bank balances, and legal alerts waited. Everything. Does it help? No. June drew 3 figures outside a crooked house. Then maybe check less. Lenora smiled faintly. That is not how fear works. I know. How? Dad knows the door is locked before he checks. Lenora watched her. June continued. He doesn't check because the door is open. He checks because Mom isn't here. The truth entered softly. Lenora had been checking money, control, systems, and people because Theo was not there. No amount of restored wealth could answer the absence. What are you drawing? She asked. Our family. Lenora looked down. The picture showed June, Sam, Mrs. Bell, and a woman in a wheelchair outside the estate. Why am I in it? You live here. That does not make us family. No, June added a dog beside the house. Then why? Because Dad smiles differently when you come into the room. Lenora looked toward the closed doors. Does he? Yes, your father and I work together. You argue together. We disagree. You also drink coffee in the kitchen after I go to bed. That proves nothing. June gave her the patient look children reserved for adults who were lying badly. What do you think we are? Lenora asked. June considered it. Not strangers. That is vague. You like vague answers when you're scared. Lenora laughed. The pain did not disappear, but the room became easier to remain inside. Physical therapy continued throughout the investigation. Lenora had stopped expecting major changes years earlier. She attended because pain became worse when she did not. Sam noticed the left foot movement again during a transfer. This time, the therapist noticed too. Can you press down? The therapist asked. Lenora looked irritated. I have attempted that for 9 years. Try once. Nothing happened. Then the front of her foot shifted. Less than an inch. Lenora stared at it. The therapist remained calm. Again, the second movement was smaller. The third did not happen. Sam did not congratulate her. He did not call it a miracle. He asked, Do you want the footplate adjusted? Lenora looked at him. Yes, the movement remained a private detail. No promises. No speeches. Just a question that had not existed the day before. Openhaven launched 1 year after Sam first knocked on the estate door. The first demonstration took place inside a modest, accessible house outside Providence, not in Lumen's Glass headquarters. The house belonged to a retired teacher named Mrs. Harper, who had spent 6 months fighting a medical equipment company after it disabled her smart entry system during an insurance dispute. At the demonstration, Mrs. Harper controlled every essential function through a local device she owned. No corporation could turn it off remotely. No creditor could remove the code from her doors. No executive could classify her independence as a subscription. Reporters asked Lenora whether open haven would reduce Lumen's profits. Yes, she said. The answer shocked them. Then she continued. It will also reduce the power companies' hold over people inside their own homes. That is worth more than the revenue we are surrendering. Lumen's share price fell 4% that afternoon. It rose over the next 6 months as hospitals, housing authorities, and public agencies adopted the platform. The company's value eventually exceeded what it had been before Malcolm's fraud. This time, Lenora did not use the number to measure safety. At the launch, she found Sam behind the house checking an exterior control box. You are missing the celebration. I'm working. You always say that when you avoid crowds. The emergency relay was installed backward. Is it dangerous? No. Then leave it. Sam looked at her. Who are you? I am learning. She waited beside him. You wore a suit, she said. June insisted. It fits. I owned it before today. I assumed Mrs. Bell purchased it. She tried. Lenora rested one hand on the wheel rim. There is something I need to say. That sounds dangerous. Do not interrupt. Sam closed the control box. I restored my company. Yes, I recovered the estate. Yes, I have more money now than before the fraud was exposed. I've seen the reports. None of it made me feel safe. Sam waited. You returned when I had nothing to offer? She continued. Then you kept refusing what I offered after I could pay you. I accepted the contract. After rewriting it 6 times. 5. 6. Fine. Lenora's voice softened. You did not treat me as helpless when I lost everything. You weren't helpless. I was unbearable. Sometimes, frequently, yes, you were supposed to disagree. You asked me not to interrupt. She smiled. Then the smile faded into something more vulnerable. I want you to remain after the work is finished. Sam looked toward the house. The work is never finished. You know what I mean. Yes, what do you want? He did not answer immediately. Lenora had lived too long among people who gave quick answers because they wanted something from her. Sam's pauses were part of why she trusted him. I want dinner with you when we are not discussing systems, he said. That is not a significant commitment. I want to start with an honest one. And tomorrow? We decide tomorrow. She moved closer. That answer remains irritating. It remains accurate. Lenora reached for his hand. Sam let her take it. Their first kiss happened behind a demonstration house, while reporters waited inside, and June searched for them with a plate of cake. There was no applause. Only wind moving through the trees and the quiet click of a correctly installed control relay. 3 months later, Lenora brought the brass compass to Sam's workshop. The workshop occupied a renovated building beside Lumen's testing center. Tools lined the walls. June's drawings covered the office door. Sam placed the compass beneath a magnifying lamp. The token can be removed without damaging the mechanism, he said. The investigators no longer need it. What do you want me to do? Repair the compass. You said it was affected by magnetic interference. That was before I knew a security chip had been placed behind the needle. Sam removed the chip. The needle moved. It swung north, then west, then north again. The internal balance remained damaged from the crash. He adjusted the pivot. Lenora watched. You don't have to make it perfect, she said. I know. The crack stays. I know. The original glass stays. It may make the reading slightly inaccurate. That is fine. Sam looked up. You prefer accuracy. I am changing. Slowly, yes. He closed the case and placed the compass in her hands. The needle moved once, then settled north. Lenora's breath caught. For 9 years, the compass had pointed toward the coast road where Theo died. Now, it pointed away. She turned the case over. Inside the lid, Theo had engraved a sentence she had never noticed beneath the damaged hinge. Direction is a choice made again. Lenora read it twice. Sam did not ask what she felt. He waited. She began to cry. Not because the compass worked. Because Theo had left her something other than a warning. He had left permission. Direction was not one correct road chosen forever. It was a decision people made again after pride, grief, fear, and loss carried them somewhere they never intended to go. Sam crouched beside her chair. Lenora held the compass against her chest. I spent years believing the last thing Theo gave me was proof that I failed him. It wasn't. No. She looked at Sam. I almost lost the company because I could not admit he had been right. You also rebuilt it because you finally did. Do you always make people feel better by correcting them? Usually worse first. She laughed through tears. June entered carrying a cardboard model of a house. She stopped. Why are you crying? The compass works. June looked at the compass. Is that good? Yes, then why are you crying? Lenora held out one hand. June came closer. Sometimes good things reach places that have been hurting for a long time. June accepted this. Then she placed the cardboard house on the workbench. I made another room. Sam examined it. For whom? June looked at Lenora. For her. Lenora became still. The model showed their future home as June imagined it. One bedroom for Sam. One for June. One for Lenora. One for Mrs. Bell, because Mrs. Bell had announced that nobody could be trusted to cook vegetables without her. There was also a workshop, a library, an elevator, a dog room, and a pancake emergency cabinet. Sam pointed to a large space in the middle. What is this? The room where nobody works. That is unrealistic, Lenora said. It is a rule. Sam looked at Lenora. Can you follow it? Occasionally, June crossed her arms. Every Friday. Lenora considered the demand. Until what time? No meetings. That is not a time. Exactly, Sam smiled. She negotiates like you. That is concerning. 2 years after the night Lenora lost everything, Lumen Habitat transferred 30% of its voting shares into an employee and resident trust. Lenora remained chief executive. Sam led Open Haven's independent systems division. He never became comfortable with executive dining rooms and continued repairing equipment himself when technicians told him something was impossible. June grew into the estate. Her drawings became real designs. Her questions became more difficult. Mrs. Bell adopted the sunroom, criticized the kitchen staff, and insisted she had never agreed to move permanently. No one challenged the claim. Lenora continued using her wheelchair. The story did not erase that part of her life. On certain days, she stood in a support frame during therapy. Months later, she took 2 assisted steps between parallel rails. The first step lasted less than a second. The second was worse. Both counted. Sam stood nearby but did not reach for her until she asked. June counted anyway. Mrs. Bell cried and denied it. Lenora did not walk out of the laboratory. She rolled out tired, shaking, and smiling. Recovery was not a door through which she passed. It was another direction she chose again. The mansion changed too. It stopped resembling a monument to wealth. The auction stickers disappeared. Photographs returned to the walls. The formal dining room became a design studio. The office where Lenora once worked alone became a shared room filled with engineering plans, school projects, and unfinished coffee. The brass compass sat in the center of the desk. Its glass remained cracked. Its reading was not always perfect. The needle sometimes trembled when nearby devices interfered with it, but when the room became quiet, it found north. People later told the story as though Sam had arrived at the perfect moment and saved a billionaire from ruin. That was not what happened. He arrived carrying an order to dismantle her life. He did not bring money, influence, or a plan. He brought attention. He noticed the heat had been turned off while someone was still inside. He noticed the inventory had been prepared too early. He noticed a hidden relay, an impossible signature, and a compass that had not been opened in 9 years. More importantly, he noticed Lenora without reducing her to what she had lost. Lenora did not need a man to give her empire back. She needed one person who refused to accept the story written by the people taking it. And Sam did not need a billionaire to lift him out of poverty. He needed someone who eventually understood that payment, power, and rescue were not the same as trust. They saved different things for each other. He protected the question long enough for her to find the truth. She made room for him to build, without demanding that he become indebted to her. June did what children often do in stories adults have made too complicated. She named what was happening before either of them had the courage to do it themselves. One winter evening, years after that first knock, snow moved across the estate driveway. Sam stood at the front door holding groceries. The security system recognized him, but the lock did not open. He knocked. Lenora's voice came through the intercom. "Who is it?" "You can see me." I asked who it is. Sam looked toward the camera. "The contractor. You were terminated. My division was closed." "Your personnel record says termination. Are you going to open the door? Do you have pancakes?" "Yes, the lock." Released. June called from the kitchen. "You're late." I said 6. It is 6:01. Lenora waited inside beside the brass compass. Sam entered. The heat was on. The elevator worked. The doors belonged to the people living behind them. The house no longer answered to creditors, executives, or a company server. It answered to them. Sam placed the groceries down and kissed Lenora. June complained. "Mrs." Belle asked whether anyone had remembered syrup. The compass needle shifted slightly as the door closed. Then it settled. North. Not because they had finally reached a life where nothing could be lost. They had already learned better than that. It pointed north because direction was never the promise that storms would stop coming. Direction was knowing who would knock after the lights went out, who would open the door, and who would remain after everything worth pretending for was gone. This was not a story about a billionaire rescued by a poor man. It was a story about refusal. Sam refused to dismantle a life simply because an order called it property. Lenora refused to let betrayal decide who she would become. Together, they refused to measure dignity by money, usefulness, mobility, or power. The empire returned. But belonging mattered more. And if this story stayed with you, subscribe and share it with someone who has ever had to begin again after losing what they thought made them valuable. Then tell me in the comments, would you have followed the order or knocked on her door again? vidIQ.